very good morning to you, Grenada, and the rest of the world. Feeling on top of the world today, man. Feeling on top of the world and being so thankful for the gift of life. I'll tell you what else I'm thankful for. The fact that you guys are there. Man, listen, I pray for you guys. I do. Nice to have you. I'm George Grant saying welcome to the Friday edition of Gudday Grenada. And today, 28th day of the month, 28th day of February. Un more to go. Un more. My dear friends, let's take a look at the rundown, see whither we goest this morning. We're going to begin with, oh boy, back in the news again. The imminent closure of the Supreme Court Registry. Our legal system is still in the shambles. Yep, I think that's the only way to sum it up. Still in the shambles. I'm going to share a statement which came to me yesterday from the Grenada Bar Association. And as you listen to this, you'll see that they have some concerns. And these concerns aren't concerns that just popped up this week or last month or last year. This is something that's been going on for years. And I'm looking forward to the day when there's a resolution to this. Because the state in which our court system exists, I say, it's hurting a lot of people. Stay tuned. Then, you know, I seem like I'm happy, and I'm happy that she made it through, but I'm not happy that it's coming to an end. This morning you're going to hear the final edition of Black Makers of History, series which our good buddy out there in the Big Apple has been putting together now, I think, 18? This morning you're going to hear the 18th edition of Black Makers of History. And the person you're going to hear about this morning is somebody, she's Jamaican, but she's a household name to people all over the Caribbean, in fact, probably people all over the world. And although this was written and packaged by our good friend Margaret, the voice you're going to be hearing is none other than that of another Jamaican, lady by the name of Beverly St. Clair. All right? Then, I'm going to show you another, here we go again, another inspirational. Yep. Do you believe in miracles? Oh, wait until you see this video. Wait until you see this video. Enough said. Not going to tell you anymore. Mr. Brian Pitt is scheduled. I was in touch with him just a few minutes ago, and Mr. Pitt is expected to join us at about 9:15. He's not coming in here. He's going to do it electronically. And we'll have the national report for you when all of this is over, okay? So that's your rundown for the next 56 minutes or so. Now let's get down to brass tacks. As I mentioned, the president of the Grenada Bar Association said this piece to me yesterday. I quote, "The Grenada Bar Association has been made aware of the imminent shutdown of the Supreme Court Registry in Grenada. This has come about as action is required to immediately address dangerous environmental conditions at the building housing the registry. For some time now, we at the Grenada Bar have had good cause to wonder whether environmental conditions at the registry may be contributing to the ill health experienced by those who are in regular contact with the registry. The closure of the registry on this account is therefore a matter of grave concern to us, as it should be to all members of the public. It must also be recalled that the Grenada Bar Association has appealed for more than 20 years for the historical problems of the registry to be fixed. These include destruction of irreplaceable records, lack of resources, lack of proper maintenance, detectable deterioration of the air quality, and the obvious presence of mold. Yet again, issues affecting a vital part of our legal system have been allowed to escalate to the point of crisis. Yet again, those responsible to address these problems have failed to give an adequate and timely response. With the facts which have been well known to the authorities for some time, this relocation, which has now been thrust upon the registry, could have been planned and executed in a controlled way. Instead, we are witnessing a chaotic and haphazard reaction, guaranteed to cause tremendous disruption to lawyers and the public. This is quite simply irresponsible and unacceptable. The Grenada Bar Association calls upon the authorities to dedicate all the necessary manpower and resources necessary for the services of the registry to be relocated without interruption. We further call upon the government to expedite a long-term solution to this and several other problems affecting the proper dispensation of justice in this country. It is time to give us our whole of justice. All right? That's the text of a statement that was issued by the president of the Grenada Bar Association yesterday. You know who that is, obviously. Her name is Lisa Taylor. Okay? Now, video number 1, Pilgrims, at 8 minutes after the hour. This is it. This is it. You're about to watch the final edition of Black Makers of History. Well, this time around anyway. Who knows what she's got up her sleeve. You know, next week she may call and say, "Hey, George, got another idea I want to drop on you." That'd be great, Max. This is the conclusion of an 18-part series. And today, we learn about a Jamaican folklorist, a poet, and a cultural icon. Her name, Louise Bennet. Check, hold on a sec here. Yeah. Check this out.
Celebrating Black Makers of History. Today's Black Maker of History is Louise Bennet Coverley.
Louise Bennet Coverley is considered Jamaica's premier folklorist, poet, entertainer, and comedian. Best known as Miss Lou, the personality she created and portrayed, Bennet is regarded by many as the mother of Jamaican culture, who single-handedly championed patois as a legitimate form of expression. Born in Kingston, Jamaica on September 7, 1919, Bennet wrote her first patois poem when she was 14 years old. 3 years later, in her first stage appearance, Bennet recited a poem in Jamaican dialect at a Christmas concert. Bennet chose to write patois because it captured the essence of Jamaicanness and gave voice to the people.
I started to write in the Jamaican language.
Way ahead of your time.
Way ahead. Because I tell you something, this was the most vital thing around. These were people were talking this and people were saying things, and a lot of people were not really even listening. There was a lot of humor, a lot of wit in the thing, and because of that, it is labeled as a language of laughter. It is not just laughter, because people have lived and died and suffered in this language, and nobody take much, notice of that.
Not surprisingly, Bennet was rejected by educated Jamaicans who, she said, considered the local dialect inferior to Oxford English.
Oh, not quite. It was never proper. At that time, it was, very low class, very that, and everybody thought this was mad.
Bennet recalls the Gleaner newspaper also refused to publish her poems at the time.
Because I'd taken this to the paper, that was the only thing, the Gleaner company, and asked them to print. I said, well, could you? The mother said, if they don't offer you anything, allow them to print it. But they didn't know that.
But Bennet persisted because
the whole thing was I loved it. Because the people I loved, and the people who were good to me, the people who were kind to me and loving, all spoke this language. And I felt that is what I should write in,
Bennet began serious study of Jamaican folklore as a student at Friends College. In 1942, she published her first book of poems, Dialect Verses. 3 years later, she won a scholarship to study at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. After graduation, Bennet hosted the BBC radio shows Caribbean Carnival and West Indian Night. On her return to Jamaica, Bennet taught drama and folklore to community groups and at the University of the West Indies. During her lifetime, Bennet published several books on poetry and folklore, recorded many albums including Jamaica Folk Songs and Yes Me Dear, and produced highly popular radio and television shows including Miss Lou's Views and Ring Ding. For her contribution to Jamaican cultural life, Bennet was awarded a member of the British Empire, the Norman Manley Award for Excellence, the Order of Jamaica, and an honorary degree from the University of the West Indies, celebrating Louise Bennet Coverley, folklorist, poet, and cultural icon. What good.
Well, there you have it, Pilgrims. Well done, Mags. Folks, please join me in thanking Margaret for the work that went into producing this series. And I hope it will be an inspiration for others, maybe like you, to come forward with ideas which will help to enlighten us as a people. Help us to appreciate who we are, rather than finding fault and tearing each other apart. Thanks, Mags. And by the way, I also want to thank some of the people who helped Mags with this. Anthony DeRiggs, he voiced a couple of pieces, if I'm not mistaken. So did Jerry George out there in St. Vincent. And, well, as you just heard, Beverly. So thank you very much to all of you for helping us. Now, where are we? Yeah. Do you believe in miracles? Would you believe me if I told you that at some point in your life, you have probably come face to face with a miracle and weren't even aware of it? Watch this next video, my dear friends. I want you to watch this video intently, okay? Please. And then ask yourself what you would have done if you found yourself in the situation that this lady found herself. Check it out.
Good night, everybody. I want you to share this with everybody. I am absolutely overwhelmed with joy, and I have to share this. My family went out tonight to go to church, so I was left home by myself. So I called my son and I called everybody and I said, y'all home? Hey, y'all come back home? And they said, no, we ain't come back home. I said, well, doors closing. I said, and I heard the sliding door close. I hear room doors closing. I said, y'all sure y'all in the house? So I didn't see anybody. I went out. I looked through the sliding doors. I didn't see anyone. I looked through the windows. I didn't see anyone. So 10 minutes later, my daughter was in the house. So I said, you, Abby, that's you? She said, yeah. So I began to think to myself, but if you just reached who that was 10 minutes ago in my house. Listen to me. I got on makeup. I ain't trying to get tear up. I walk outside to my car. I walk outside to my car to leave about 20 minutes later. So a young man walks in my driveway, and I was alert, so I jumped. And he said, I want to apologize to you. I said, apologize to me for what? Because I'm trying to figure out what is he even doing in my driveway. And he says, I came tonight. He said, I came tonight to rob you. And he lifted up his shirt and he showed me the gun. Y'all, this just happened. He lifted up the shirt. He lifted up his shirt, showed me the gun. He said, I came to rob your house. He said, but I remembered when you had the feeding thing at your church, you fed me and my children. He said, when you looked out the side door, he said, I was right by the door. He said, I looked in your face and I remembered you feed me and my children. He said, you fed me and my children. He said, and I looked in your face and he said, I could not rob you. Y'all didn't hear me? This man had a gun in my driveway. Jesus, and you can tell me God ain't a keeper? Oh, God. Oh, God. Listen to me. This man lifted up his shirt, showed me the gun. Showed me the gun. Say he came to rob me. Y'all didn't hear me? He didn't know whose house he was coming to. And he walked away and I called him back and I said, sir, I said, everything I have in my bag, I want to give you. He said, no, I ain't robbing you. He said, I ain't going to do that. He said, you want to go to the police? Go to the police. I said, no, I ain't going to the police because God is my keeper. I gave that man the last $300 in my bag. That money I gave him was my son's school fee. I said, I'm going to put $300 in my son's school fee tomorrow. And listen here, I gave that man that $300. And that man break down on the floor crying. He said, you know why I was robbing you? He said, I was robbing you because I don't have nothing to give my children. I said, sir, not only am I going to give you this $300, he said, but I said, give me your address. I said, I come in there in the morning to bring the grocery. I said, your light on? He said, no. I said, I going to turn on the light tomorrow. Listen to me. If my son was there, if anybody in my house was there, they probably would have killed him. But God had a different plan. Listen, when I saw that black gun, and I know someone was in my house, God is a keeper. Y'all hear me? Y'all got to serve God. Who God keep is well kept. Jesus, Job 5:19 say God will keep you again and again. And I believe that. Y'all be encouraged. I got to go give God some praise.
Moving. Be thankful that something like that hasn't happened to you. Folks, Mr. Pitt is all saddled up and ready to go, but I just want to take a moment here first to say hi to those of you out there. TF wins the race this morning. TF Richards, Peter Bishop's there as well, and he's saying from a windy Long Island. Anthea was saying happy Friday to you guys. Ronald McPhail Alexander is there. Good to see you. Harry Gibson is there as well this morning. Kipling Francis saying howdy. Margaret Francis saying good morning. Margaret says, don't forget Sharon Elizabeth Roberts. George, how dare you? Yes, one of the people we have to thank for their help in putting that series, Black Makers of History. Sharon. Thank you, Sharon. Please forgive me. Hazel Wilson is saying good morning all and have a wonderful weekend, and she's also thanking Margaret and the gang. Claude Pudner is there as well. Okay, so folks, let me take a quick break here and then we'll get right to Mr. Brian Pitt with his Friday morning pit stop.
Conveniently located in the Grand Anne Shopping Center, for over 40 years, Food Fair has provided quality service at affordable prices. Now, grocery shopping is made easier and more convenient from the Food Fair web store.
Hey, babe. Listen, I need you to go down to Food Fair to get some groceries.
All right, no problem. Right away.
Thanks, babe. What are you doing? You're supposed to be going Food Fair to get a grocery, man.
I am, but didn't you know you can order your groceries online from the Food Fair web store?
Are you serious?
Of course. All you have to do is just to log on to www.foodfair.g with credit card in hand, and with an order of $100 or more, Food Fair Grenada will deliver up to 3 miles away. And you don't even have to worry about your information, you know. Their safety measures are excellent.
So hold on. You just order online and Food Fair will deliver to you?
Yep,
Oh, baby, better hurry up and order, man.
I already did. They should be here any minute now.
Enjoy easy online shopping anytime from your home or office from the Food Fair web store. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
Hey, Lynn.
Hey, neighbor.
Here's the bill I asked you to pay for me.
How did you get your electricity bill to be so low?
For one, we size our transformers just for what we need. And we unplug transformers, chargers, and other devices when they're not in use. We also replaced our light bulbs with LEDs.
They burn less energy, right?
Much less. I even replaced the seal on my refrigerator door to keep the cold air in.
And Grenlec is always advising us not to open the fridge too often.
That's right. And my family washes and irons in bulk.
With fuel prices changing all the time, how do you know if it is working?
We pay attention to the usage history table. Over time, our average usage has decreased.
So while Grenada can't control fuel prices, I can conserve energy and save money.
Grenada, energizing our Grenada.
Alrighty, folks, there he is, Mr. Brian Pitt. Would you please join me in saying very good morning to Mr. Pitt? How are you, sir?
I am great, George. You hear me?
Yes, sir. I'm hearing you. I'm seeing you. And I mean, we're all ecstatic having you with us. Things going well?
It's been a few weeks.
Yeah, you know, but these things do happen.
Not all my fault.
Pardon me?
Not all my fault.
No, it wasn't your fault. I think everybody in the audience knows it was my fault. But anyhow, I think keep our pinkies crossed. Let's hope that's behind us. So, BP, what's up your sleeve this morning, sir?
Why don't I let you lead the conversation, George?
Let you lead the conversation, George. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. I think a good place to start is with this stumbling block for the pertaining to the registry. It seems like another stumbling block in Grenada's legal system. You've been following all the stuff that's been going. I see you shaking your head. You've been following all the stuff that's been going on.
George, I want to congratulate Lisa on her approach since she became president of the bar.
Yeah. Feisty, eh?
And I want to take us back to Ivan. Ivan was 2004, right?
Yeah.
16 years ago. the courthouse was destroyed, and that building has been a derelict building since then. It took long before people started to complain of being ill. Because if I'm not mistaken, the registry is right next door.
Yeah.
And there have been all kinds of things happening in that derelict building that used to be the courthouse. Right, George?
Yes, sir.
And it tells me that these governments have not been interested in justice, which means they have not been interested in the people of Grenada getting justice over time.
No.
And, you know, I believe that the Grenada Bar Association has gone through several presidents in those 16 years. And if I'm not mistaken, Lisa's voice has been the loudest in this regard. Yes, George?
Yes, sir.
You know, and it affects all of us. It affects the trade union movement, who I believe have matters before the court. The Chamber of Industry and Commerce and its members, who I believe have matters before the court. Maybe the hoteliers and every organization in Grenada whose membership may have matters before the court and cannot get a hearing because we have had no court for a while, and now the registry has been affected. When last have you been to the registry, George?
I don't think I've been there in about 10 years, sir.
You know, it is a sight to go into the registry, downstairs the registry, and look at the condition of some of the records that are kept there, and people doing searches from books that are missing pages and edges. And I really don't know how we can record or how we can recall who owns property in Grenada by being a proper search. So the registry has been in chaos for years.
Brian, stick a pin there for a minute. Stick a pin. You talked about records. I don't know if you recall, a couple of months ago, there was some talk about cleaning up York House. Remember that?
Yep.
Okay. Well,
and I think they did.
Yes. Well, to some extent, because I took my camera and went down there to videotape the post cleanup work, and there was still a lot of junk in there, a lot of junk, including, Brian, I went into a room and there was a library of books. And out of curiosity, and when I say books, I'm not talking about printed books, I'm talking about books in which you keep records, okay? Out of curiosity, I decided, let me take a look and see what's in these books. Brian, apparently those books were records of court proceedings. You know, what the judge said and what the client said and all this kind of stuff. And I thought, how far back is this dated? Do you know that stuff went back to prior to Hurricane Ivan, Brian? And I'm asking, these are obviously court records. Why are they still sitting there exactly where they were when this hurricane hit in 2004? What, that's 15 years ago?
16.
There you go. Ain't that a shame?
And those, I imagine, George, were transcripts of trials.
Yes. Yes. And so anybody could have just walked in, picked up, and walked out. Big deal.
And I think more importantly, George, is that people are now getting sick. And it, you know, we don't know the extent of these illnesses and who might be responsible for these people getting sick. There's a matter of no insurance, there's a matter of medicals, there are all kinds of financial issues that some of the members of staff of the registry might have to undergo as a result of the conditions and the environment that they have to work in, George. You know, not too long ago, in the Ministry of Labor, I don't know if you know this or the general public does, they had to relocate the Ministry of Labor for a few weeks or months so that they can tear the carpet up from that ministry because it was causing people to get ill. I also understand, George, that in the Ministry of Education, people have been falling sick because of the environment and conditions of work. Now, I take it that these employees have been reporting these conditions to their trade union, and that the trade unions are now in touch or have been in touch with the powers that be. We've said enough, George, on this issue. I hope that Lisa Taylor can get some action, but I don't think that the halls of justice, which is about maybe 10 years down the road, can solve the immediate problem. These people need a place to work and proper kept records in order that they can do their work.
Brian, you said, okay, you were suggesting it's time to move on, but I want to throw a curveball at you before we move on. You suggested a little while ago that this negligence of the legal system in this country is hurting the Grenadian people. And Lisa mentioned it's hurting the attorneys as well. But let me ask you this, Brian. You know, some time ago, a couple of years back, there's a lot of concern about Grenada becoming a one-party state. And I have to ask you, you know, we talk about you neglect the legal system. Then you're setting yourself up for like absolute control. I'm asking you, sir, if you see that as being a possibility. One-party system, no legal system to protect the constituents. I'm not saying it is, but I'm asking. Could this be part of the strategy, sir?
George, I hope not, you know.
We all hope not.
Yes, I hope not, and I hope it is just an oversight, but everything is pointing us in the direction of purpose neglect. And if the neglect is done on purpose, then they're going down the alley that you're talking about. And this reminds me, George, of an old saying, that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Could we be at the stage now where there is absolute corruption of power in Grenada? Now, if I won 15 seats 3 times, I might very well believe that I own Grenada.
Yeah. That's the scary part. That's a scary part.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And you know, George, and it brings something to mind. I heard yourself and Alan Brzezinski talking about Miss Scotland, the Commonwealth Secretary General, that we are now endorsing for a second term. And it is funny that she got into trouble, George, because of procurement. In other words, she gave contracts to people who she knew, whether it be family or friends. You know, we are at the stage in Grenada right now, George, where procurement is part of the instrument of governance so that we are procuring to our friends and family. And that is a regional problem. Maybe that is why Prime Minister Gonzalez felt that he can endorse Ms. Scotland, because he doesn't see anything wrong with the instrument of procurement being used by government. Because nobody in the region, if I'm not mistaken, has been held to account for this procurement that is now an instrument of governance.
And you see, Brian, that's where we differ from places like the United Kingdom. It looks like this lady could be held accountable. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, a couple of countries have already withdrawn their support for the Commonwealth. So people like her get held to account. And Grenada?
Well, as I say, in the Caribbean, we don't see that as a crime. Maybe that's because nobody has been sent to jail.
Yeah. That's the point I'm trying to make. No accountability. That's a scary position for us to be in, sir.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
All right. So you've been monitoring Ms. Scotland. Don't, be careful. Don't put your hand on her shoulder when you meet her, okay?
No, my hand wouldn't get to her shoulder. She's taller than I am.
Brian. Hold on. Just let me check social media here. Margaret Francis says, time to digitize those court and registry documents. Brian says, good morning, with all those good news. You call that good news? There's a comment here from somebody, just going back a little bit. Dexter Miller says, with a long list of cases against the government that's before the court, it's not surprising why this is happening. We should be mindful that we lost a lot of documents in a treasury before. Do you remember that, sir?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. This gentleman may have a point, you know, George.
Yeah, well, that's why I like sitting in this chair, man. I hear stuff I could never think about in a lifetime. All right, let's move on now. Brian, I don't know if you saw an email I sent to you this morning about the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission. They are having a sort of consultation next week. And this thing has been, I think Alan was the first person to draw this to my attention. They sent out some documents for comments. And Alan pointed out that one of the things in that proposed legislation, and let me quote it for you, and this has to do with the network license granted to Grenelec under Section 14 and 67 of the Electricity Act 2016. Termination of license for expiration of its term, transfer of shares of Grenelec to the government. Now, I've underlined this, I've highlighted this in red. When the term of this license expires in accordance with Part 11C2, the property of all shares of Grenelec held by private persons shall be irrevocably transferred to the government of Grenada free of charge and without payment for such transfer. Brian, we've really gone off the deep end, haven't we?
Lawyers must be lining up, George, to get a piece of this.
Yeah.
After that law is passed. Now, I note that the meeting in St. George is on the 3rd of March.
Yeah, and you'll be there
at 5:30. I will be there. Because is government telling me that the shares that I own, I should hand it to them?
Free
and they would not compensate. And they would not compensate me for those shares. So what is this? A dictatorship?
No.
But even further, George, we go back to this absolute power corrupts, absolutely. And that some of these guys may feel that they own this country.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know where that came from. I suspect that this is a last resort to get the pound of flesh by some people who used to work for Greenland. Now, but George, you know, for those of us who study the Merchant of Venice, yes, George?
Go ahead.
For those of us who study the Merchant of Venice, I think the judge in that Shakespeare play told Shylock, you can have the pound of flesh that you want closest to the heart without shedding an ounce of blood. You know what that meant, George?
Tell me.
That Shylock did not get his fair due what he thought he would, because he could not take an ounce of flesh closest to the heart without shedding an ounce of blood. I would like the government of Grenada and the enablers of this piece of legislation to take note that they have already lost 2 rounds, I believe, with Greenland, and they might very well lose a 3rd, and the people of Grenada are the ones who will end up paying, you know.
Yeah.
So if we all want to sit back on our haunches and let our representatives take us down a path where we will probably lose another legal case and have to pay taxes to pay Greenland. God help us.
Well,
I don't know where that is going, George.
Pardon me?
I really don't know where they're going with this one.
Brian, you know, if we're not yet there, I'm not sure how far we are from it. All right, partner, listen, before we run out of time, and by the way, if you still have if you get one of your hot flashes and something comes up that you want to share with us, just jump right in, right? But I'm going to continue on my stream of hot flashes here. There's been a lot of talk about the coronavirus. I mean, I'm just getting kind of sick of it now. I'm getting the virus from hearing about the virus. And, you know, yesterday Alan and I were talking about the fact that, boy, there's so many opinions out there and conflicting opinions from people whom you would think would know better. I mean, the President of the United States seems to be in disagreement with the CDC. The president, as far as I know, is not a medical practitioner or of any sort. The CDC says one thing, he says something else. And it's not just in the United States. It's happening in Canada. It's happening all over the world. I'm sure you've seen a lot about the virus. What, sir, is your assessment of the potential of this virus right now?
I have 2 concerns, George. My first concern is when you give a sample in Grenada to get tested, I believe that sample is now sent to either Trinidad or Barbados.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not mistaken, it would probably take them a week to 10 days to get the result of that test.
Hold on, it's my understanding that the results could be available the same day. The issue here is, and this is the way I heard a doctor explain this, the issue is the transmittal or transmission of the information back to the people here in Grenada. I mean, come on. That baffles me. Ever heard of something called
mean there's no
email?
There's no secure way of transport of communicating that? You see, John, let me get to this next point. Because this was an opportunity, I believe, for us to work through CARICOM, you know. That CARICOM, the Secretariat, could have taken the lead as far as this virus is concerned, whether it be testing, communicating results, getting resources to upgrade and update our medical facilities. All that could could have been done through CARICOM. This was an opportunity, George, for CARICOM to take a lead on behalf of the region. And I think they have the professionals there to do it. Unfortunately, most of these ministries of health may find it politically convenient for them to take control of something they know nothing about. Are you with me, George?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And that is my major concern. It's like the President of the United States talking his nonsense when he knows absolutely nothing about the transmission of this virus. That is my biggest headache right now. That we have not commissioned the CARICOM Secretariat to take control of this whole issue, even if it means bringing our students back from China, because they are Caribbean students in China, right?
Yeah.
So what are these individual governments trying to do? And in their attempt to take control of this issue, I believe they're putting us all at risk.
Okay.
That's how I feel about this virus, George. And as I listen to the news every day, from what can be considered reliable sources, this thing is getting worse.
Not listening to some of the experts here. I mean, come on, chill. What's all the hysteria about? Come on.
Well, those are people who are concerned about the fall in the stock market. That 1% of people who are very wealthy, concerned about how much money they might lose.
Yeah.
They're not concerned about our
I want to
health.
share a couple of comments here with you. Again, digressing a little bit, but we're running out of time. T.F. Richard says, but Brian, wasn't Scotland the same lady who was embroiled with a fake dignitary some years ago? You remember that?
Yes.
Then Margaret Francis says, not to discount Scotland's actions, but the Brits are only reaping what they sowed in this case. They used deception to get her in, and now they're reaping the benefits. Sadly, the Caribbean allowed themselves to get caught in the trap. TF says, I remember her in a picture with the PM and a guy who was later known as Fake and had no accolades as he was claiming. Dexter Miller says, we all have to be careful in this. We all have to be careful. If this is passed, soon they will have the power to take all our savings in the banks. This person is talking about Grenada and the PURC. Sharon Elizabeth Roberts says, not an ounce of blood, Brian. Shylock would not take a drop of Antonio's blood. You literature fanatics, you're going right over my head. Shakespeare, and who is this guy? Antonio, etc. Richard St. Bernard says, more people have been killed by the flu than this virus. What say you to that, Brian?
That apparently is true, and the latest communication is saying that this virus is just another flu that's going to be around for a while.
Yeah. Well, apparently, I was telling Alan yesterday that I saw one of these televangelists on television this week. They had this massive sale going on where they were selling packages to prepare people for 6 months without food. For $3,000, you can get a package which will give you so much to eat and drink, water for 6 months and all that stuff. Yeah, I'm serious about that. I'm serious about that. Anyway, just let me grab a
He probably has a
here.
supermarket.
Pardon me?
He probably has a supermarket.
Yeah, man. TF is asking, is anyone aware as to if other Caribbean countries have students in China? And if so, what's being done? TF, the answer to that question, I'm sure other places have students there. Yeah. Okay, Brian, listen, unless you have something else.
Yeah, one quick note before I leave, George.
Yeah.
Carnival. And how people dress.
Yes.
Very topical issue, George.
Yes.
And you know, for a few years now, we have not paid attention to how people dress to go on the rum runner on a Sunday. I challenge anybody, George, to take a walk on the Carnage when the rum runner is going out on any given Sunday. And they will understand how our young people dress to party at Carnival. You know, I was talking to a young person not too long ago, George, and learned of a new phrase. The phrase is neo-feminist. Do you know what's a neo-feminist, George?
No, tell me.
A neo-feminist is a woman who is very proud of her body and believes that she can wear whatever she wants to wear because her body is her own. It doesn't matter what size she is. She's proud of her body. I suggest that those people who are talking about the nude wear at Carnival need to have a conversation with some of our young people instead of just saying, hey, stop doing it. Let's find out why, and let's find out what's in the back of their minds. Are they inviting the opposite sex to participate, or are they just expressing themselves?
Since
That's all I have.
Sir, I've been trying to pull up an email here. Ray Roberts sent me a picture of a very scantily clad young lady, and a comment that went along with that picture. Well, do one thing look? Hold on a sec. Things have really gone overboard in Trinidad this year for Carnival. I like my fun, but women are making a mockery of the whole thing with their nudity. Look at this poor girl, just too much. Instead of a turn on, she is a turn off. I guess next year, to join a band, you will just have to take off all your clothes and hold up a placard to say what you are depicting. Laughing out loud. And he goes on to say, what has happened to the law of indecent exposure? When some man with rum in his head pull her in the bush and fix her, she is still entitled to scream rape. The law is making an ass of itself. She look for that. No sympathy. That's the text of an email that came in overnight. So somebody out there agrees with what you're saying. You know, these people are luring men, and I'm not defending men in any way, shape, or form. You got some guys out there who should live under a cold shower, I'll tell you.
Yeah, but George, are they luring men, or are they comfortable in their skin? You know, we have to be careful how we judge what people wear and how they wear it.
Brian, I don't think anybody likes admiring a beautiful woman as much as I do, okay? This thing has gone beyond just showing your body.
Right.
Have you seen
But maybe,
videos
George,
that have been circulating out there, Brian?
Yes, but take note of this. Maybe in the coming years, those women who overexpose themselves might not find a husband.
Might not find what?
A husband.
Yeah, well, at least one who's going to dedicate himself to her for a lifetime. Yeah. T.F. Richard says, Brian, we grew up admiring persons on a Sunday morning with their wonderful clothing. Guess it continues in a different way. I gotta go, Brian.
Yeah. Okay. Take care, George. Have a good weekend.
You too, sir, and we'll see you next week. So long.
Okay, take
Mr.
care.
Brian Pitt, there he goes.
Conveniently located in the Grandstand Shopping Center, for over 40 years, Food Fair has provided quality service at affordable prices. Now, grocery shopping is made easier and more convenient from the Food Fair web store.
Hey, babe. Listen, I need you to go down to Food Fair to get some groceries.
All right, no problem. Right away.
Thanks, babe. What are you doing? You're supposed to be going Food Fair to get a grocery event.
I am. But didn't you know you can order your groceries online from the Food Fair web store?
Are you serious?
Of course. All you have to do is just to log on to www.foodfair.gd with credit card in hand, and with an order of $100 or more, Food Fair Grenada will deliver up to 3 miles away. And you don't even have to worry about your information, you know. Their safety measures are excellent.
So hold on. You just order online and Food Fair will deliver to you?
Yep,
Oh, baby, better hurry up and order, man.
I already did. They should be here any minute now.
Enjoy easy online shopping anytime from your home or office from the Food Fair web store. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
Hey, Lynn.
Hey, neighbor.
Here's the bill I asked you to pay for me.
How did you get your electricity bill to be so low?
For one, we size our transformers just for what we need. And we unplug transformers, chargers, and other devices when they're not in use. We also replaced our light bulbs with LEDs.
They burn less energy, right?
Much less. I even replaced the seal on my refrigerator door to keep the cold air in.
And Grenlec is always advising us not to open the fridge too often.
That's right. And my family washes and irons in bulk.
With fuel prices changing all the time, how do you know if it is working?
We pay attention to the usage history table. Over time, our average usage has decreased.
So while Grenada can't control fuel prices, I can conserve energy and save money.
Grenlec, energizing our Grenada.
Alrighty, folks, just before we pull the curtain down, I want to turn back here to a couple of comments on social media. Sharon says, I agree with Brian. That email is crazy, the stuff I read just a few minutes ago. Sharon says, the woman can be naked and still not want a man to touch her. That is her right. To which Margaret says, precisely, Sharon. However, Margaret also says, I agree, George. A nude body and lewd behavior are not the same thing. Well, Margaret, I'm glad that somebody understood what I was trying to say. Sometimes I don't always get the words in the right order, but anyhow, that's the point I was trying to make. Women are beautiful. I admire them. And like Sharon says, because the person likes her body, doesn't mean you have to go jump all over her. No, 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 no. But get real, Sharon. You know damn well what I'm talking about. You know damn well what I'm talking about. I think that's gonna do it. Yeah. Before I go though, always, parting word from the Holy Scriptures. Today's reading comes to you from the book of Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy chapter 30, verses 15, 16, 17, and 18. See, I set before you today life and prosperity, death and destruction. For I command you today to love the Lord your God, to walk in obedience to him, and to keep his commands, decrees, and laws. Then you will live and increase, and the Lord your God will bless you in the land you are entering to possess. But if your heart turns away and you are not obedient, and if you are drawn away to bow down to other gods and worship them, I declare to you this day that you will certainly be destroyed. You will not live long in the land you are crossing the Jordan to enter and possess. Deuteronomy 30, 15 to 18. My dear friends, we have to forego the national report today. But I do thank you for joining me, and I do pray that the good Lord will bless and keep you by his grace. Let we get together on Sunday morning for Sundays with George Grant. So long.